Alright guys, today I'll be giving you my top 10 coaster manufacturers. Now this will be past and present, and I'll say this right now, there are a couple that did not make the cut, and some of you might be pretty pissed about it, but I just gotta say that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. You know, these things are tough to decide, but at the end of the day, this is the top 10. So starting off the list at number 10 is going to be a manufacturer that a lot of you who don't know me are probably going to be pretty pissed about, and some of you who do know me are probably going to be maybe even a little surprised that it's this high, and that is B&M. I do like some B&M rides. Obviously, Goliath is their magnum opus. You've got one of the most intense moments ever with that downwards helix, and some good ejector airtime. But for the most part, B&M just makes mid rides. Fury 325, I know I hate on it a lot. I don't hate it. It's a solid 9 out of 10. But at the end of the day, it's a speed machine that just has some floater airtime. Just not a whole lot going on compared to other elite rides. You've got Pipeline the Surf Coaster, which is a personal favorite of mine. You've got other great coasters such as Flying Dinosaur, Pyrenees, Shambhala, Silver Star. I mean, these are good rides, but, you know, they're nothing that you're going to go too out of your way for. I'm not going to Japan for Pyrenees. I think you know which other two coasters I'm going for. But anyways, we're going to move on to number 9, which is Vekoma. Now, if they were to make more coasters like Let Coaster, this could be a few spots higher, but unfortunately, it looks like they've toned back a bit after Let Coaster. Apparently that was too intense. But I mean, rides like Phoenix, Abyssus, Cloud Shuttle, they look pretty good. And of course, they've got Fly at Phantasialand, which looks like a really good ride. Maybe not the most forceful, but of course, it has some of the best theming in the world. And over here in the US, we've got, of course, the older Vekomas, which I actually think are underrated. And then we've got a couple from Disney that are good, like Expedition Everest. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train really isn't good, but it's fine. We got Tron Light Cycle Run. We got that over at Shanghai as well. And then, of course, we've got Big Bear Mountain, one of my personal favorites. So overall, Vekoma is definitely a manufacturer that's gotten better. But again, if they just had a couple more like Let Coaster, it could be a couple spots higher in my opinion. Coming in at number 8 might be a bit of a surprise, but it's CCI. I've only been on a few of their coasters, with the biggest one by far being Boulder Dash. And I'm not quite its biggest fan, but I'm also definitely not its biggest hater. I'm sort of right there in the middle. But a lot of their other rides look fantastic, especially compared to what the general consensus is. Rides like Cornball Express, the 3 at Mount Olympus, Ghost Rider, the 2 at Holiday World, I mean, they just look incredible. And of course, you've got the star of the show here for CCI, which is Shivering Timbers. Oh my god. I would not be surprised if this ride's better than Voyage. I'm not saying Shivering Timbers is better than Voyage. All I'm saying is the airtime on this ride looks phenomenal. You still got rides like Boss, Excalibur, Rampage. I mean, just so many good rides. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Gerstlauer. This manufacturer is really being carried by Karnen. I mean, just what an incredible looking ride. Top 15 in the world by far. The rest of their lineup kind of falls flat after Karnen, but I mean, it's good enough to carry it. They've still got rides like Smiler, Storm the Dragon Legend looks pretty underrated. They got Karajo, Junker, Flucht von Novgorod, Fury, and then over here in the US, there's not as many options, but we've got a couple good ones, such as Monster or Hang Time. So it's a pretty top-heavy manufacturer, but at the end of the day, Karnen's good enough to carry. Coming in at number 6 is going to be the Gravity Group. Again, I've only been on a couple of their rides, but they've been really good. Ravine Flyer too. Oh my god, every ride I've had on it this year is incredible. Oscar's Wacky Taxi's really underrated. Bobcat is a bit weaker than I thought it could be, but still really fun. Wooden Warrior. I mean, those are just the ones I've been on. We haven't mentioned, of course, their magnum opus, Voyage. Just, wow, I cannot wait to get on that thing. It looks like even longer Shivering Timbers with a way better setting and pacing. It's incredible how that thing looks. You've got Dawling Dragon. Zippin' Pippin, Hades 360, all the goddamn Jungle Trailblazers that exist. I mean, they've got a lot of really good wooden coasters in their portfolio. Coming in at number 5 is a manufacturer I definitely wouldn't have here, even last year, and this is Aerodynamics. I used to think these rides were kind of dumb and just way too rough, but I've definitely grown an appreciation for these things. The roughness is actually absurd jankiness that throws you all around, and its greatness. Of course, Magnum XL 200 is the star of the show here. My number 2 overall. Just unbelievably strong airtime. Unless you've been on another coaster, which I'll mention in a bit, which you probably know if you know me, you have no clue how strong Magnum's airtime is until you've actually ridden it. It's disgusting. They've got other fantastic looking rides such as Big One, Desperado, which I know is probably never opening again, but I thought looked kind of good. Canyon Blaster, of course, they have Dragon Mountain, which again, who knows if that's going to open ever again. X2, the first fourth dimension coaster. We've got Tennessee Tornado, and of course, you can't mention Aero without talking about Eagles Fortress, one of the greatest defunct coasters of all time. I know Aero definitely isn't for everyone, but if you can appreciate how janky their rides are, like I learned to, then they're definitely one of the best manufacturers of all time. Number 4 is going to be S&S. They're a bit of an inconsistent manufacturer, especially in terms of reliability, but I don't care, because the top of their lineup is just too good. Of course, the big two are Dinoconda and Egenica. Just two of the most absurd looking rides ever. If you love crazy intensity and just pure disorder and chaos, I could definitely see how these are the two best coasters in the world for you. There are definitely two very notable defunct coasters from them, those being Dodonpa and Hypersonic XLC. Those launches just looked electric, to say the least. I mean, just no other launches like them. Of course, if you still want something similar, you've got rides like Powder Keg, all the S&S Air launches in China, Max Force. You've got Steel Curtain over here in the States, which I know it's not open right now. Trust me, it's going to open in 2025. I just know, trust me. I was at an ACE event online in the S&S factory, and I know they're going to get it open in 2025, and it looks like an amazing ride. You've also got the El Locos, which look pretty good. I haven't done one, but they look really good. You got Free Spins. I mean, they've got some good rides. Now, we're at the big 3. And really, I could respect anyone saying any of these big 3 are number 1, but I had to make some tough decisions here. So coming in at the number 3 spot is Mack Rides. Oh my god, I am definitely one of their biggest fans. First of all, I'm going to start off with Stardust Racers because this will definitely be the most reasonable elite Mack coaster for me to ride. And wow, it looks incredible. Just that's really all I need to say. Top 5 in the world, probably. You've got Voltron, which just looks like a complete full package. It looks like if Stardust Racers had a break in the middle, so definitely not quite as good. You've got Ride to Happiness, Beyond the Cloud, Hyperia, both Flash and Hypercoaster. You've got DC Rivals. I mean, there's so many absurdly good-looking top 25 in the world contenders built by Mack. But my big problem is there's just not quite enough depth for me to put them as high as the top 2 right now. Maybe in a couple years, maybe Stardust will be good enough where I can just put it higher just based off that. But for now, I have to put it at 3 until I could see a few more years of this. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Intamin. I really wish I could put them at 1 because they have so many ridiculously good coasters. But at the end of the day, you know what number 1 is at this point. But let's talk about Intamin first, because they have just maybe the most impressive collection of all time. I think they undeniably have the most balanced collection of all time, from pretty good kiddie coasters and family coasters to some of the world's greats, including a few that could debatably be the best coaster in the world. If you want the most ridiculous laterals in the world combined with some insane intensity. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Panthurian could be your number one overall. I hate that so much, but yeah, it's facts now. You've got T-Express, which is my prediction to be the best Intamin in the world, and also the second best coaster in the world, just some electric looking ejector. I could realistically see it having the strongest airtime, just period. You've got some other ultra elite coasters like El Toro, Sky Rush, Expedition G-Force, Conda, Hyperion, Maverick, Pantheon, Velocicoaster, Coaster Through the Clouds, Balder. You get the point. There's just a mind-boggling amount of elite coasters from Intamin. However, you know I'm a bit of a fanboy for the number one manufacturer, and that is RMC. I don't care what anyone else says. I don't care that T-Express is probably better than every RMC except for one. But, of course, that number one RMC is by far the best coaster of all time, and that is Air Force One. You guys all knew it. You guys all knew Air Force One alone would put RMC at number one. I mean, T-Express is the only thing that I could see coming close to having as strong of airtime as this thing, and even then, I really, really highly doubt it, because just this thing's absurd. Ride this thing on like an 80-plus degree day, and your life will not be the same. Of course, you've got other ultra-elite coasters, Iron Gwazi, Wildcat's Revenge, Lightning Rod, Wildfire, Untamed, Zadra, Hakuge, Medusa, Iron Rattler, and yes, even Steel Vengeance. You can consider that elite or not. I personally don't, but whatever. Most of you do. Most of you consider it top 5 RMC, which I don't understand how it's a top 10 RMC, but anyways, you get the point. They're just so stacked like Intamin. They don't have nearly as many coasters as Intamin or really any manufacturer on this list. But that being said, the quality of them is insane. They have not made a bad ride, and that is something pretty much no other manufacturer can say. And of course, with that cherry on top being Air Force One, I had no doubt in my mind that I wanted to put RMC at 1. So that's my ranking of the top 10 manufacturers. Let me know what you guys thought of this video down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.